Tetewathá. Welcome to Tetewathá, Party Line Talk Show. I'm your host, Arlene Gawanahawi Jacobs Ujats, AJ for short. Uwa Wanizarade, MCK Friday. Today is MCK Friday. Excuse me. My guest today, sorry Cody, is Cody Diabo, Chief Cody Diabo. How are you doing, Cody?
Very good. Glad to be here, Arlene.
Good. So, since you're the newest chief on council, only a little over a month, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How is it?
It's not overwhelming. There's a lot to take in, though. Like, there's a lot of information coming in, a year and a half into the term.
For sure.
So there's a lot to process, to see kind of what's going on, like what others are doing or where they are in their portfolios and files. So, like I said, it's not overwhelming. It's just a lot of information. It's
a learning experience also, because since you don't have any portfolios, am I correct? You haven't received
No,
any?
we just recently did a portfolio review. So now I'm the lead on lands. And I'm also backup on, I'm the lead on environment and the backup on lands.
I was wondering, because lands is a huge file.
Mm-hmm.
The portfolios that were left by the former chief that resigned, are you going to be receiving any of those, or have those been reissued? They've
all been redistributed. Like I said, we all went, I believe it was last week, we kind of did our own kind of portfolio review. So some files were switched up. The only thing I took from the former chief was the Kahnawake file on lands portfolio.
Oh, I see. That's also a huge file.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So there's a lot of reading and a lot of reading, historic
with,
content and
many binders and executive summaries. So I've just been trying to familiarize myself with that. I've been calling KIPO because they've been doing some assessments over there along with Health Canada, any kind of risk assessments going on there.
The other thing is you're on the environment, and your main goal, I guess, when you decided to run for council was the self-sustainability. Yeah. So you're working closely with environment, or have they done anything in that area? Are you?
Well, I recently reached out to a company in Montreal that deals with, it's called aquaponics. Mm-hmm. It's basically like an indoor farming. It relies heavily...
Excuse me, what did you say? Aquaponics?
Aquaponics.
Aquaponics.
Yes. Okay. So it's taking basically two techniques. It was done by the Aztecs and Mayans some time ago. Some time ago, but it's been perfected since, given with new modern technology. So essentially it's you have one circuit that relies on the fish, so you can do a wide variety of fish. The company's currently doing some R&D on various different kinds of fish. Some say you can use tilapia. The company specifically deals with Arctic char and rainbow trout. So they deal with that. And then so the fish waste, they're living creatures, so everything produces waste. That in turn gets filtered into a mineralizer kind of system, and that's what fertilizes the plants, which are in another portion of the building. And then the plants, once they're full grown, you can harvest the plants or produce whatever kind of produce you want, really. Again, they're really experimenting with different kinds. So you can harvest that, and you can harvest the fish once they've reached maturity.
So when you harvest the plants, what do you do with them?
Well, that would be my goal of it, is for it to be given back to the community. Oh,
I see. So if you're part of lands right now, have you consulted with lands to see if there's any land that is available for a project of, I don't know how big your...
The standard, sorry to cut you off there, but the standard size they suggest is that yields, how would I say it? Like the minimum size you should go is about 10,000 square feet. There was an initial meeting that took place between myself, a few other chiefs, Gene from Lands, and also Kalia from the Environment Office, just to kind of, I guess, get a feeler for this company. So they were there, and currently that's what we're probably, if we're going to go ahead with the project, because it's indoors, we're going to look at maybe the best place to put it. You know, not taking up, say, pristine communal land, you know, maybe land that's maybe, say, like right across from like Blackberries, that whole area, since there's, you know, not much vegetation there, it would have like a lesser impact on the environment that way.
Have you looked into the 10 acres of land that was put aside for the healthy housing many, many years ago? I don't know if that's still
I didn't look into
given
that.
out, but maybe you should find out about that, because that was given for healthy housing many years ago, maybe in the early 2000s, and people were going to build and have healthy housing. It was going to be like a little community on its own, and it never, you know, it never happened.
Yeah.
So that land is still somewhere.
Well, that could come into another.
And that's on the OCR.
Yeah, that could come into another project I'm currently working on.
I see.
Also. So, I mean, it's just important to say, like, right now we're still in the very preliminary steps of this aquaponics. I have reached out to Randy Cross from the Collective Impact.
I was gonna ask about if you
Yeah, I did reach out to them because food sovereignty was ranked #1.
For sure.
So, I mean,
under Collective Impact also.
Yeah, under the Collective Impact. So it's more or less now building the partnerships to see if we're going to go ahead with a project like this, you know, where's the community involvement going to be? Of course, it's for the community, you know, to feed ourselves and become self-sustainable in the food aspect, food sovereignty. So, I mean, we're going to have, you know, people overseeing it. You know, we want to make sure that the food that is produced stays at a standard that we set. That's the word I was looking for. You know, so it's a very promising project, and the technology is being perfected. Currently, the company, they have about 11 other projects going on in Quebec. Nothing is up and running at the moment. It's in just various stages of production. They are actually working with a community Cree reserve up north, just off of the 55th parallel. I don't want to attempt the name because I know I'm going to butcher it, but it's a very north, and so in that aspect, you know, their climates, that's what fights against, you know, all farming. If you want to get into farming, is the climate. Especially over here, we have about 6 months of time to grow. So it's a year-round thing, and you can probably do about 4 to 6 harvests. And the good thing about that is you pick the harvest. So if you want the fruit or produce to be ripe and pristine, that's when we harvest it, and it'll be like clockwork. So every 4 or 6 weeks, that's when we harvest.
So you mentioned this would be inside. How big of building are you looking at?
Well, like I said, the numbers are saying that the minimum you should go is 10,000 square feet. That'll yield the greatest, not the greatest, but it'll yield about 10 tons of fish annually, which comes to about 150 fish a week. And then the produce, depending on what you decide to grow, could be between 30 to 50 tons of produce.
So at the beginning of this venture that you're looking at, is there need for a lot of volunteers? Or how is that going to work?
Well, the thing I liked about this company is prior to any kind of construction that goes on, there's a 3-month kind of consultant period where they like to come here and engage the community on what they want. Their whole company is based around the community involvement. That's what I really liked about them and why I reached out to them. So it's really the community's project, what you want to see in there, how you want the building even to look, anything from kind of planning to the structure and what you want inside.
So this is going to be totally different from the project that was taking place near Highway 30 with the outside of the plant. They were planting and for the last 2 years or 3 years. Yeah,
it's a very revolutionary idea. It is picking up ground. That started really in about the States and in Europe, and now it's making its way over here. And like I said, especially in our climate, you know, we don't have a very good growing season, so this is ideal for climates like that.
And of course, the climate is changing every year, so we don't know what's going to happen next year, if we're going to have 6 months of growing time or 3 months of growing time.
Yeah, that's right. And
you know,
that's why.
it's really scary.
And an important thing to note on this is actually it uses 10% of the water that you would use in conventional farming. So for that size, you're only using 10% of the amount of water. So say if, farming of 10,000 square feet took 100 liters of water, you're only using 10 liters. And basically it's all just to kind of top off the fish tanks to make sure that they're at the certain level.
So you were talking about across from Blackberries.
I was just thinking of that area because, again, I don't think it should just stop at maybe just one project. I think there should be maybe one building solely dedicated to the community, another building maybe to branch out to other communities and engage in agricultural trading. Other communities have an abundance of wild game, so maybe we can give them equivalent of produce and fish for wild game like moose or caribou, and then even if we wanted to go in another direction and say, like, for instance, Tyandinago with walleye nuggets, or I won't say walleye nuggets, but just walleye in general. Again, get into the training, the trading, with other communities. And then, you can even go even further and say, well, we're gonna trade with other even surrounding areas, or we're going to trade to local businesses too in town, to make sure that they can get healthy food at a lower cost than maybe what they're paying now.
Okay, Cody, we're going to go to a break right now.
Okay.
We'll be right back. So, Cody, we're back. Would you like to continue with what we were speaking about, or do you want to move to another subject?
Well, I can move on to maybe another project, because
Sure.
this is still in the preliminary phases with this aquaponics, but I do think it's a very worthwhile venture that, we should pursue, and it's catching along fast. So, if we can get there on the forefront, we always view Kahnawake as leading in different
Areas,
forefronts and areas
for sure.
for different indigenous communities. So I think this is something we should definitely pursue.
I hope so. It sounds really interesting and, in the end, very rewarding.
Yeah. And just on top of that, too, there's just you can probably, with the 10,000 square foot building, you can probably employ between 5 to 10 people, in various stages of the production. So somebody dedicated just for the fish, somebody dedicated for the produce section, somebody dedicated to the overall management of the building. And then, you just get into different spin-off buildings, because with the fish, you want to use every part of it. I know some businesses are looking at doing leather from the fish skin.
Leather, really?
Yeah. And so, even if you wanted to get into canning or anything along those lines, there's many spin-offs from it that, one building could, potentially bring, but, multiple buildings just brings in more opportunities.
Mm-hmm. So the 10,000 square feet, which I neglected to ask you a while ago, is how many acres would you need for that size building? 4 or 5?
You'd probably say around that, because you don't want to just kind of, it depends on the structure of the building too. Do you want just a regular square building, or do you want to kind of bring in kind of like a green feel to it, landscaping and all that. And also some of the buildings too, depending on the design, you can actually branch off a greenhouse from it, because some produce needs more actual sunlight, while other ones, they can kind of go off of the artificial light to help grow. So it's another feature. And like I said, this company, if we go ahead with it, they'll be consulting with the community to see what the community vision of it is.
And about how many jobs do you foresee, or is this too early to tell?
It's too early to tell. Like I said, they're estimating between 5 to 10 people just for the actual building. But that's just with the kind of growers and all that. But of course, you would need cleaning staff. You would need, I don't know if we want to say security of the building, to make sure. But I could see for
security, so no one will steal the fish, or
well, that's it. We want to make sure that the building stays, safe, and for the people that work inside of it. So it's too early to tell, but I can foresee many jobs, especially with multiple buildings and then multiple spin-offs of it, you know.
It's very, very interesting. Okay, you want to talk about something else?
Well, along those lines, like you had brought up about on the OCR there with the housing, I'm also looking at trying to see if maybe we should branch into kind of not mobile homes, like model areas, maybe trying to get to go towards solar and wind generated, just to kind of, again, see the community's insight on pursuing more greener, cleaner, renewable energy sources.
Mm-hmm.
So on that note, I'm looking at trying to see about different training in solar panels and wind turbines. Wind turbines right now it's a booming business in Quebec. A lot of places are starting to push more towards it. Solar hasn't really taken off in Quebec, but in other parts of Canada, it seems to be another booming industry. So that's what I'm trying to look at over here. Again, you know, to bring wide range of different kinds of jobs and training to people in Kahnawake. They're trying to look at maybe even partnering, because I know Aguasasne did a training program through St. Lawrence College with solar panels. So I'm in early talks right now with our adult education center and seeing about partnering with Aguasasne to split costs, you know, and get people to pursue that kind of training and employment. It's like I said, they're booming businesses, booming industries on the rise. The equipment for turbines and solar panels are only being reduced, so I think we're on the forefront of that as well, and it's the time to act on it.
Do we have anything like this in our sister communities?
With the solar panels,
Yeah,
you mean?
solar panels.
Like I said, Aguasasne, about 2 years ago, they did a program through St. Lawrence College, the Yohehio Adult Education Center in Aguasasne. But again, it just came down to dollar amounts. The equipment at the time was very expensive to buy, the paneling and to work on it, and the instructors. A lot of it, like the instructing portion, comes through the Indian Affairs, but to buy the material that comes out of the kind of their pockets. So that's why I'm looking at now maybe partnering and bringing it back. I've also, when I was at AFNQL, made contact with an individual.
Could you tell the community what AFNQL is?
Sorry, AFNQL is the Assembly of First Nations Chiefs
Labrador.
of Quebec and Labrador.
Yes.
So there was an individual we met, and he's gotten different kinds of funding and government grants, and he might be looking at, he wants to provide solar panel training, but only in like kind of off-grid setting, so not like a massive industry, but like Joe Warodu, for instance, people with cabins. We're going to be looking at seeing if he would want to come here and offer this kind of training. It's very small training, but gets people into the whole
like
notion
motivated
and all that. And then we're looking at maybe that can even be a prerequisite, not prerequisite per se, but people who take that, if they want to pursue it even further, you know, then we're going to have this other course to supplement that. So that should be some coming news soon. I'm working on seeing if that will be something right for us, which I think it is, because again, we have Joe Warodu and we have many people who have cabins, and you know, to get away from the generator power and to hook up the solar panels. And like I said, this is all it's all free. It won't cost the community anything, because he's been getting funding from various other sources to provide this to First Nation communities.
Oh, that sounds great. Great. So when you're talking about going to school, is this geared towards a younger person or an older person, or it really doesn't matter?
It really doesn't matter, but we're looking at possibly splitting it up as well, like more of maybe say a vocational for erecting maybe the structures, and then a more of a complex course that deals with actually connecting it to like a somewhat internal grid and all that. So that, you know, might not interest some people, but the erecting of even different turbines or getting the solar panels in place, that interests another set of people.
Yeah, because a lot of our young scholars are looking for something else to look into, to go into.
Yeah,
you know?
and that's what I'm trying to...
It's not always the same thing, computers, and even though that's great, but, you know, something like that, and they're really helping out their community also.
Yeah, and that's what I plan to do, is try to bring in a different range of jobs, because some people don't want to be a teacher, they don't want to be a police officer,
No.
they don't want to,
No.
do the normal jobs that we have. So to branch out in these other areas, might spark different people's interest.
For sure. So is there anything else that you're looking forward to doing, or?
Well, right now I'm trying not to dabble in too much because, I don't want to...
No, you're right, because a lot, not a lot, but some take on a lot of portfolios, which they know a little bit about everything, but not enough about one thing.
Yeah.
To pursue it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of committees, there's a lot of boards, there's a lot of things to get used to when you're on council. There's a lot of reading, as you're aware of.
Yes.
and a lot of acronyms to learn.
Yes, I'm still...
And people come on the radio, like a while ago, you said AFNQL. I mean, not everybody knows what that is. I know what it is, but...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it, like, before I got on, probably didn't even know what AFNQL was, but now that I'm in it now, I'm starting to use the acronyms. So
of course,
it's
a lot of
really
people
hard.
don't know what they're unless they're involved in it. I didn't know all those acronyms until I got in council.
Yeah,
and that was like you could have a whole book on acronyms.
I have 2 papers, and they said that's not even about half of the acronyms.
Yeah, even the small ones we use that in the organization itself. So. Along the lines of land, what do you think about maybe I shouldn't, maybe you're not experienced enough, but about the asbestos, all the people that are going to be, I guess, exposed to this. Everybody says it's safe and whatever. Do you have any insight on that? You must have had discussions at the council table, like beyond the community meeting that we had 3 weeks ago or whatever it was, which was also your first community meeting.
Yes.
So getting back to, I'll come back about the community meeting in a minute. But how many people were there? There was very few people.
There was very few.
That was maybe one of your first community meetings, because last time you were on, when I last questioned you, was when you were running for council.
Yeah.
And, you said you hadn't attended community meetings. Well, why do you think people don't attend community meetings?
Well, from my own experience, it could be just the kind of job you have. Like for me, I was doing a lot of shift work. I have a young family. So, I like to spend time with them when I'm not working. That night, it was actually the temperature pretty much, it wasn't what we were used to, coming from the nice kind of summer weather we've had, and it was a bit bad weather, I would say. So I'm sure that will probably inhibit people from coming as well.
You're being very kind. I don't think I would say that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people. But there's radio, there's television, there's the print media, and everybody is into all these things, and then to go sit at another meeting, and people are very involved.
Yeah.
They're on boards, they're on committees, they have school, they have, they work all day. They don't want to come out at night.
Yeah.
So there's got to be other ways to get people together, and these things that you're coming up with is perfect. It's almost like a community meeting. You're sitting there, you're telling them, well, this is what we're going to do, this is what we should do, this is what we could do. With your input, we have to get them involved.
Yeah.
It's the involvement that counts for everything. Anything else you'd like to add about the land aspect?
Well, you had brought up there, I don't want to not answer the asbestos issue. Again,
you forgot about that. Sorry.
I didn't forget about it. No, Frank is working really hard on it, and it's turning out to be a very huge file. It should almost kind of be like a portfolio on its own.
For sure.
It's taking a lot of his time. The only thing I could really suggest at this point is if you do have any questions, to try to get in contact with him. I know we've mandated now a specific working group that is just going to be dealing with that, and Frank is going to be the go-between person between the table and the working group, because I know before in the past, like, you would mandate a working group, and then at least he's got direct access now to the table. If something is urgent, he's going to bring it to the table now because, just from the whole, how it all kind of happened, it was, just kind of sprung on the entire community and the table, that's something that wasn't even expected at this point. But I know there are solutions right now being looked at to at least try to get the land, like the parcels of land that are being occupied, to at least get those remediated as soon as possible.
As soon as possible. Yeah. Well, at the community meeting, Frank had mentioned that, probably by December. Is there any movement on that?
I believe there's going to be, I think at least one lot going to be worked on. And then we're pretty much right in winter. We were hoping that the weather was going to hold out on us just a little bit, but it came in a bit earlier. So that's what we were battling at this point. So, but then as soon as it thaws out, the other two, I think there's 2 occupied lots that are going to be remediated as soon as the winter thaws out.
But as I understand it, there's a total of 43 at this point?
43, but I believe there's no homes on it. So we got to come
So you're only in like phase 1?
Yeah. This is to complete the phase 1. Yeah. To get those done as soon as possible.
Well, I hope those people who have occupied these lands are put at ease that something is being done. I think that's what people wanted to hear.
Yeah.
You're not going to forget about it. You're not going to brush it on the side. You're going to continue and finish it.
Yeah, and I think the sentiment that night was, regardless, the cost, as long as you're living on it, it's going to get done. It's not going to, like you said, be swept on the side or, costs. We're worried about cost for that. It's if your home is on it, we're gonna get it done.
Because that's what a lot of people think, like council starts something and they put it on the side, and it's not always the case.
No.
It's just that you don't go and report every week.
Yeah. And then another thing.
When there's something that's done, you report. The next thing that's done, you report again.
Yeah. And the thing, too, I'm starting to realize in there is things move a bit slower on this kind of level.
Very, very much so.
If you got to call and get some quotes, for you it's urgent, but for the company that you're asking, they might be getting 20 reports like, oh, we need an estimate. So it's like, well, we'll get to you when we get to you, so, but coming from this aspect, it always just kind of gets put on one party. And so, but we're working as fast as we can and to get it remediated as soon as possible.
So I'm sure before you got in council, you didn't know how slow things were.
I had a notion that things kind of didn't move as quickly as you would hope, but I'm not saying too disappointed. Well, in my different areas that I'm working in, things aren't dragging, but in other areas I can see, it's dragging, and it's not at the fault of the council.
No,
it's just,
no, it's not.
You're relying on other people, and they have schedules, and they're
also relying on other governments.
Yeah, and that's the main
thing. To get things done.
Especially now since their elections just happened, the federal government. So now it's people are being put into new positions. So now you're waiting to hear who's in what position. So
and who's going to promise what this time? That's always something to talk about.
Yeah.
The other thing, Cody, is you were previously a peacekeeper, and you served 10 years, 12 years?
Oh, I only served about 6.
Oh, 6 years. What did you bring to council from the peacekeepers, from working there? What assets, I guess, or strengths, I should say?
Well, over there, it's a mix. You work on your own sometimes, and then you have to work with other people, and you're not always the lead in something. Sometimes you're just an officer, and then there's a corporal involved, there's an investigator involved. So you have to learn to take direction. Some people, maybe they feel it's their way or no other way, but you have to be open to different suggestions and different plans, and you have to kind of reassess and critique yourself on that. Like, oh, okay, that is a better plan. Like, my plan turns out wasn't very good, so I think that's something I brought to the table, being able to, like I said, I pursued these different projects on my own, and then now I'm working with the table on other aspects, or going to different meetings and doing it together as a unit. multitasking. You know, you gotta
you have to multitask.
You have to multitask. You can't sit there and say, "Well, I'm working on this, so don't bother me with anything else." It's you gotta take information as it's coming in and know how to prioritize what needs your attention first.
And things change every day.
Yeah.
You know, there's always something that comes up, and then you have to deal with it so something else gets pushed back.
Yeah, and
you know, it works like that all the time.
And the ability to work under
Pressure.
stress, pressure. You know, that's not as stressful as different situations when I was a peacekeeper, but you know how to control yourself, control your emotions, and be able to move accordingly.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're a peacekeeper, you have a gun. As MCK, you don't have a gun.
No. But as a peacekeeper, you shouldn't rely on that.
No.
You know, your biggest tool as a police officer is your mind, your mouth. You know, like if you say something, you know, you can either break or make the situation in a sense.
Try to defuse the situation instead of create more chaos. Good. It's almost time for our second break.
Okay.
So we'll be right back. Okay, Cody, we're back. So, you have anything else to add to what you were talking about?
No, for now, you know, it's still new, you know, still 6 weeks in. So I have these few projects that I'm working on. And like we were talking just a few minutes ago there, I don't want to overload my plate. You know, I want to actually see these projects to a certain point. You know, I don't want them just to fall at the wayside. You know, and that's my goal. That's, you know, what I platformed on, what I said I wanted to work on, and that's what I'm doing.
I'm so sorry, Kahnawake. I forgot to say, this is Chief Cody Diabo from the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake. This is MCK Friday, and we're discussing the several projects that he's working on right now. So sorry about that. So Cody.
So is there any questions that maybe you have, or maybe listeners? I don't know if they can call in or text.
No, I had a lot of questions, actually. But I didn't want to bombard you with questions. At your first time on here, you've only been on council for a month. I think you answered some of them. So your only two portfolios are lands, Kahnawake, and the special project that you're working on.
Kahnawake is a file within lands.
Of course, yes.
And then, so I'm on the lead for environment. So that's what I'll be looking at too. Also, I guess as soon as, again, the weather starts getting nicer there, the Rec Bay project, and then just different kind of initiatives within there too that I'm also looking at, trying to bring to the forefront.
I think environment has come a long way since it was started, I should say. Their expertise, the people that are there, I mean, it's very well handled. Yeah, you know, just like the tree planting initiative, they planted over 1,000 trees or close to 1,000 trees. And, you know, our trees are dying, and, you know, they're always in the forefront. You know, this is what's happening, this is what we're going to do, and they do it. And I think people really appreciate that. I mean, a lot of people don't know what's going on. I don't know why. You know, like I said, there's many media outlets in this community. And, you know, word of mouth. There's Facebook. I mean, you know how true that is.
Yeah.
Everything on Facebook is 100% true. This is why I am not on Facebook. My daughter's always after me to go on Facebook, and I always say, no, I'm not ready for that.
Yeah.
You know, one of these days I will be. But when I was on council, I didn't go on Facebook only because you can get dragged into a situation where you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody has an opinion. Whether you like it or not, everyone has an opinion. No. Not everybody is right. But, you know, and it could get to be a showdown, I guess, on Facebook, and you really don't want that.
No, you got to.
And it's happened in the past with some council members, which wasn't their fault, but they answered or they liked something or whatever, and it turned into a bigger issue than what it could have been.
Yeah,
it could have just been laid to rest and don't answer. So you really answered all my questions that I had.
Yeah, back to the environment there, though. But like, I'm really glad to be on the environment portfolio. Everybody there is dedicated to
Very
what they're
much
doing.
so.
You know,
Yes.
they love what they're doing, and
Yes.
you know, I love being a part of it. Again, like, I'm just new, so I'm starting to get familiar with them. We're going to be having a couple of meetings coming up where, you know, I want them to tell me what they expect from me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not there to tell them what to do or
Right,
anything. You know,
right.
they're the experts. They're the ones who are dedicated to it. So
Yeah.
tell me what they need from me on the political end. You know, and then everything
Because
deals with
because
environment.
you are the go-between between environment and the MCK table.
Yeah.
You have the first seat there,
Mhm.
so you can do those things. You know,
Yeah.
if they say, "Gee, Cody, we need this," or "Can you try and get that?" That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's, you know, like we said, like, I'm the go-between. So if they want me to fight for something, then I'll fight tooth and nail for them. And you know, everything involves environment. Even all the portfolios too have some kind of either affect or they help out environment in some way. And that's becoming a new unit. You know, they're gonna not change the playing field, but you know, they're gonna be putting balance, I think, to it, because a lot of times, not here, but you see around the world, you know, a lot of times environment is tossed to the side for the sake of money or, you know, digging for oil and all that. But
Big
it's, oh
business.
well, never mind about the environment. We need that other kind of green first.
Or we need jobs.
Yeah.
You know, of course, jobs are always important, but you know, if you're not going to live the next 25 years, we have to figure out what's going to happen to the next generation.
Yeah.
What are we leaving our children
Yeah, and that's
and
why
grandchildren?
I brought up with the solar panel farms and then the wind turbine farms. Like, these are businesses that are starting to become on the rise because of the whole environmental movement by the young generation. You know, these are initiatives that aren't going to affect the environment the way, say, oil will, or you know. So these are better initiatives, and again, you know, those takes even probably more jobs than, say, different oil companies.
Well, I must say, I have to give you credit for coming on, even though you've only been on council for a month. Some people never come on for whatever reason. And, you know, to tell the community what you're interested in and what you'd like to pursue and how far you've gotten. I think that's very good. And I wish you luck. And, you know, I'll be there to support. I don't know what else I could ask you. How do you think being at the council table has affected your life up to this point?
Oh, well, it's a change of life. You know, I'm used to doing shift work.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, sleeping at this time. You know, sometimes I wouldn't even be up at this time. I just finished at like 7 or 6 in the morning. So it's a change that my family's going through at this time. You know, 8 to 4, weekends off. But even that, I mean, you're never truly kind of off the clock in this position.
No.
You know, getting emails. You know, so it's trying to separate, you know, the work life and my family life, but also being, you know, available to people, because that is the position I signed up for, you know. But at the same time, I don't want to neglect my family at the same time, and trying to get a handle on it, you know. Don't want to sway either side too much, you know. We want to try to maintain the balance on it.
So getting away from the political for now, have you started your Christmas shopping?
No, not yet. I never I always wanted to start early. I know my aunts, my grandmother, when she was alive, by this time their Christmas shopping is done, and
Yeah.
has not even started yet. Usually I'm the last week before Christmas Eve or the last couple of days before, and I'm running out trying to get all my gifts. And
See, you guys never learn. You know, you have to start early. If you were a woman, you would have half these things done.
yeah,
You know, we got to think of cooking, cleaning, this, kids, you know. But we still do it all.
yes.
But I think the men are coming up in the world, right, Skylar? No. And especially since yesterday was the American Thanksgiving, and this over there is their start of Christmas rush, and, you know, buying TVs. And I used to go to Black Friday, and I thought, what the heck am I doing here? It's ridiculous. I would just go to eat, you know, go to different restaurants, and that's it, you know, see the people. And like, it's the TVs, the electronics, and all these things. I mean, I'm not buying toys anymore. My daughter is, she's older, so neither is my grandson. So there's really, really little toys to buy.
Yeah, it gets out of hand pretty quick. Like I've seen videos and all that, but I've seen places where it's like they only let in so many people at a time, and then they get what they want. And I notice now, I think a lot of places are starting it earlier, so it's not so much like just on that day, that big rush.
Yeah.
We were, I think, we were in Cornwall last week. And they had a ton of sales, kind of leading up to it. And then we even had went onto the stateside, and same thing. There was a bunch of sales leading up, I guess, the week before.
But even in Canada, there are so many sales, and there's also Cyber Monday coming up this week. I don't know. I was watching the news this morning, and they were saying, well, what's better, to go to Black Friday or Cyber Monday? And they said, well, depends what you want.
Yeah.
If you want your electronics, the good ones will be gone by Cyber Monday. So you have to go like today. So, but I think a lot of people have started their Christmas shopping, and it's so cold out, and yet the sun is shining. Today is a beautiful day outside. Everybody is, looking forward, I guess, to the holiday.
Yeah.
Getting time off work, spending time with your family, and, whatever comes with all those other things. Sometimes there's tension. But, everyone gets through it. So you're saying you were balancing your political life with your family life. Has it been kind of hard at first? I mean, you're gonna get into deeper things and more things. So you have to start slow, and try to fit everything in.
Yeah, and my girlfriend, she's very supportive. I can't be more thankful, that she's behind me in all this, and is pushing me to.
And you can say hello to her.
Yeah,
I'm sure she's listening.
I'm sure she is too. Hi, Kirsty.
That's always good. That's always good. Your little girl, she's what, 2.5?
2.5.
Wow, goes by fast.
Yeah, she's getting just a little bit of a cold now, so we're gonna have that to deal with now. A sick baby. And
then you'll probably get sick, and Kirsty will get sick.
Kirsty will probably be sick, and then I'll get sick, and I'll probably have it the worst. That's usually how it always happens.
Yeah. Oh, that's always the way it is, especially when there's several children in the family. One gets sick, the others get sick.
Yeah. And it's a lot like we were saying, balancing too. But in the end of the day too, we know like I'm doing it also for them too. Especially for my daughter. Going to be growing up in the world. I won't always be there to protect her. So at least if I can try to start things, to start moving towards that way where I know she'll be fed when she's older, when I'm not here anymore, and she'll be able to stay warm in the winter.
I think we have to teach our children how to do that. It's so easy to run to one of the stores in Chattagee or Dalson or wherever you shop to buy your groceries. Meat doesn't come packaged like that.
No. No, there's a whole process before that.
There's a whole process before that, and I think people have to learn that, or the young people have to learn that. Like, where does it come from? How does it get here?
Yeah.
It's just so easy.
Sorry to cut you off.
No,
there.
It's fine.
But looking at ways to do it, humanely, and not, in the ways that it's been done, just for the sake of, again, we go back to for the sake of cost, as fast as you can. And, that's bringing up with this aquaponics. I know people have already had some reserves about it because technically the first part of it is a fish farm, but there's how it's done out west, how it's done in different places in Asia, it's kind of crammed to capacity, and then now the fish are diseased and all that. So, this to be able to show people that how it's done over here and like the standards that we want for it, to get put their mind at ease.
I don't know if you can answer this question. What do fish crossbreed?
I'm not sure. Like say if like rainbow trout and Arctic char.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, on that aspect, but definitely, I mean, even part of our thing too, the project, if we wanted to do, we can have, say, like a hatching area for, say, rainbow trout, and then we can watch the process from kind of basically start to finish. We can also get them from reliable sources through the company I deal with, that plan to deal with, they can also supply that to us. Or like I said, like we can do it on our own. And that way, again, we know exactly what's being happened to the fish right from when they're born to when it's time to harvest them.
I would really be interested to find that out. I don't know what made me think of that, but sometimes the brain works faster.
Yeah.
And you have to ask the questions. So again, I really give you credit for coming on and, telling the community. And this is what this show is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Is for you to update the community on what you're doing. Make sure the community voted you in for the right reasons.
Yes, and that's, I want to stay down, I'm a man of my word, and that, what I say I want to work on, that's what I'm going to work on, and try to get it done as quickly as possible, and to make sure that, people start seeing the benefits from the different projects.
So start with Kahnawake.
Trying to.
Work fast. No, that's always a slow process. There's a lot of negotiating and talking and understanding, especially the history of Kahnawake Golf Club and how it affected our community and how it still affects our community as we look at it every day.
Yeah, and there's a lot of reading, and, there's things to consider, after the lease is finally finished, and things to look at.
And when is the lease going to be finished? 2021?
Well, that's when the renegotiation is going to happen, 2021. But then it's only supposed to be extended for, I believe, another 25 years. So
only another 25 years?
Well, in 2046, as far as I know, that it's supposed to be kind of finished, but unless the lot holders want to get together and redo it.
So we have a few minutes left. If you would like to wrap up and say your goodbyes or what you would like to tell the community about yourself and what you'd like to do.
Just, wanted to say, keep an ear out, keep an eye out. I want to keep updating the community as much as possible on the different projects. And I feel that it's a very interesting path that I would like to kind of push the community to go to. So hopefully that there's lots of training, and hopefully there's, a whole bunch of new kind of employment to come. That will spark other people's interest. And that's all.
Okay, Cody, thank you very much for joining us today and telling us all about yourself and what your goals are. And thank you again.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.